So today we're just going to do the first half of the note section, and because the second half's a little bit different, and we're going to finish the other half tomorrow. So if you remember the last time we took notes on 5.7, there was a table talking about the discriminant, and there was a thing on there that said if the discriminant is a negative number, then your solutions, you're going to have two imaginary numbers. Now, I know that sounds kind of silly to have an imaginary number. Why would we need to use our imagination to come up with numbers? Well, that's because sometimes you need them to solve equations. For example, if I asked you what the square root of 4 is?
2.
That is 2. What if I asked you what the square root of negative 4 is? Negative 2. So that means I would do negative 2 times negative 2, right?
No, that'd be
So when it comes to like square roots and squares, you can't have like 1 plus and 1 minus, like 2 times negative 2. If you did negative 2 times negative 2, that's going to be positive 4, right? So we need imaginary numbers so that we can solve equations in situations such as this when we have a negative square root. So this I, it's kind of like a variable, like an x. It's not a variable, but you kind of treat it like a variable, and you'll see when we start to use it what I mean. So I is always equal to the square root of negative 1. So anytime you see an I, it just equals the square root of negative 1. So then I squared, which is just square root of negative 1 times the square root of negative 1, is just negative 1. That caramel's putting you through it. I can hear it from here. I mean, I can hear
My
it.
acid reflux.
They can probably hear it on the recording.
My acid reflux is sweet. Like, I just burped up straight caramel and stomach acid, and it was sweet together.
So, all right, back to imaginary land. So if we look at number 1 here, we need to be able to factor out a negative 1. So if you remember, like when we would do like the square root of 12, you can break that down into its factors and it still be the same thing, like the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. And then we would simplify that to 2 square roots of 3. So we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to use our square root of negative 1. So the square root of negative 9 we can write as the square root of negative 1 times the square root of positive 9. And then the square root of negative 1 we set up at the top. That's just equal to I. And then the square root of 9 is 3. So we got I times 3. And like I said, you kind of just treat the I like a variable, like an x. So if it was an x, you'd write 3x. We're going to write 3I. And that's how you're normally going to see it. Alright, number 2. Same steps. Factor out a negative 1 times the number itself. Our square root of negative 1 just turns into an I. And then the square root of 196, what is that? 13 squared. 14 times I.
I just thought.
Yep. Get the 6 and the 9 flip-flopped. I keep, whenever I like kind of look this way out of the corner of my eye, those flowers back there keeps looking like somebody's got their hand raised. So if I just like, I looked at Lily Ann like 3 times in a row. I thought she had her hand up.
Like a mint or something. Please. Just something.
I don't have anything. Or I'd give it to you.
If I choose something, it's not gonna help.
Alright, number 3.
Yeah.
Actually, let's skip number 3 and go to number 4. So number 4, the first step's the same. We factor out a -1 and the number itself. Our square root of -1 turns into an I, and our 80, is 80 a perfect square? No, it is not. So we need to find something that goes into it that is a perfect square. What perfect?
16.
16, bingo. 16 and what?
5.
Yup. So, if you can do the rest in your head, you don't have to write down all these steps, but I'm going to write them down up here. So, I times the square root of 16 times 5. So then you would have I times 4 square root of 5. Make sure you just write 4I square root of 5. Your I, like I said, kind of treat it like an X. It goes in front of the, or after the 4. Alright, try 3, 5, and 6 on your own. It's okay. It's okay. Katie, did you get number 3?
What?
Yeah. What'd you get?
I square root of 5.
Square root of 5. Okay, that's correct. How did you get there?
Square root of -5 is equal to square root of -1 times the square root of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you can square root that 5 by is 1.
Yeah.
If I is equal to just 1 square root of 5. But you don't need the 1 because it's the same either way. So we should say.
Good. So your square root of 5, there's no other perfect square other than 1 that goes into it. So you can't simplify. So it just comes down. Your I stays out in the front. I square root of 5. Perfect. Addie, did you get number 5?
I actually did.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. So it's -1, square root.
Yeah. Okay.
And then times square root 32.
Okay.
And then the -1 becomes I.
Okay.
And then times square root 16 times 2.
16 times 2.
Is that not wrong?
No, that's right.
And then it would be 4I square root 2.
Are you proud?
Yes, this is
Good.
the proudest I've ever been in this class.
Good. Have some confidence. That's one thing I noticed from your all's quizzes is you all, and it's not just your all's class, but all of them really like to gaslight me into thinking you have no idea what you're doing, and then you get a 10 on the quiz.
That's high school. That's just high school.
Yeah.
That's like
You always
gatekeep girl
think you're
boss,
gonna do
followed
worse
by
than you do.
stress.
Okay. Alright, Ella, did you get number 6? What'd you get?
What'd you say? That's like gatekeep girl bosses.
Square root of -192 is square root of -1 times
I'm glad this is
square root of
like everywhere.
192.
Okay.
So too close.
And
There's me
then
too, go guess
so
like
one
gatekeep girl
turns
boss.
to
Me
I.
here is me dying.
And
It's
then
caramel.
square root of 192 is square root of 64 times 3.
Good.
I keep moving this desk.
And then it would be 8I square root of 3.
I can't stand still for more than like 3 seconds.
Perfect.
I keep putting.
Alright, so
Remember.
now we're going to actually use this to be able to solve equations.
You're pretty funny, man.
It's, listen, it's, if you can do those, this is a piece of cake. I'm telling you, it's not This stuff right here that we're about to do, you've pretty much been doing it for 2 weeks.
Taylor, it's the wrong month for April Fool's Day. That's in April.
No, but it's Valentine's Day, and I want you to love
Suffer.
math.
Well, keep wishing.
Yeah, to suffer.
Keep wishing upon that
My
star.
Valentine's not here.
So, alright, hang with me. Right here. You're going to be amazed how simple this is.
I'm amazed.
It's the same steps, we're just trying to isolate our x. So we subtract our 81. Then you got x squared equals negative 81.
9.
Take the square root. And then you just follow the same steps that you were doing in these problems up here. So x equals the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 81.
I'm most likely wrong, but it's gonna be 9.
Your square root of negative 1 turns into I. Square root of 81 is 9. So your final answer is just 9I.
I wasn't.
But do you remember one more thing? When we're solving equations, there's something we have with our x when we're solving by square roots.
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus. Because if you remember in that table that I talked about from 5.7, it said we have 2 imaginary solutions. So that's how we get our 2. So we got a plus and a minus one.
Your imaginary number.
You think I'm an imaginary number?
You are.
Is that an insult?
Yes.
You said number, I said imaginary.
Alright, let's do, you want to do number 8 or number 9?
8.
8.
Both.
I already did have a. Let's do
Did you
Both.
get 2?
Alright, number 8. Same thing, subtract your 9. 2x squared equals negative 8. You all know how to do all this part. X squared equals negative 4. Take the square root. X is equal to the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 4, which is just going to be 2i. Now, real quick, before I turn you loose on 9 and 10, let me show you something that's going to change your life. So, everybody have a calculator?
No.
If not, you will need one. You'll be glad you had it. Yes. So, make sure real quick, first, at the very top of your screen, that it says, like mine, it says A plus BI. It might also say real. Does yours say real?
real.
Yes.
Okay. Here's how you will fix it. If you click mode right here, it'll pull up this screen. Scroll down 6 times. And see, mine's an A plus BI, so it's highlighted.
What
If
did you
you
say? I'm sorry, I was.
click mode right by a second,
Alright, I see that.
and then scroll down 6 times to where my thing's flashing. And then go click over to the right to A plus BI and hit enter. And then you can back out of it.
So it needs to be in real or A plus.
It needs to be an A plus BI. And I'll show you why right here. So I'm going to put mine in real, but leave yours in A plus BI. If I did, like number 1, if I did the square root of negative 9, it's going to say error, non-real answers, because it's in real mode. So now I'm going to go and switch it to A plus BI. Now if I do the square root of negative 9, it's going to say 3i. And that's what we got doing it by hand. However, it works for perfect squares. But if I did like number 4 is negative 80, that's not a perfect square. It's going to give me a big long decimal. So we still have to know how to simplify by hand to be able to get down to an answer on ones that aren't perfect squares. But you can use a calculator to kind of check your work once you get to the end, see if what you did is right. So, that being said, go ahead and do 9 and 10 on your own. Mary, did you get number 9?
It's one eye.
No, I got 2 eyes.
So, did you subtract 15 first?
Yeah.
You got 4x squared equals negative 24.
10 out of 14.
Then x squared equals what? Negative 6?
Yeah.
You got that?
Yeah.
Then what'd you do?
I square rooted it.
Square rooted it. X equals what now?
I am. I think I got it wrong.
I went with Michael's answer. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, Michael, what'd you get?
I got the same thing. I thought that was a positive 9. I didn't think it was a negative 9.
Oh, so you had.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do nine, so I said,
do
Michael,
one eye.
where do you do nine? He goes, I got the answer of one eye.
I
got
I
two.
square
So,
root 6.
I mean, I
I
didn't
got-
do it. Yup, I just went with my.
So who got to this point right here?
Me.
Hayden, I saw you first. What do you do?
You would just drop the 2. Or like just drop the I. So then it'd be I negative 6 because no perfect square fits into 6.
So you have this, and then your square root of 6 can't be simplified anymore. So you just have I square root of 6.
Yeah.
And last but not least, plus or minus. Don't leave home without it.
I'm moving home with my plus or minus.
Oh, I think I put it.
All right, number 10, Lillian, did you get it?
Yeah.
Bring us home.
I
That you
did
wrote?
minus 13 on the one. And then I did the square root of x
That's
squared
kinda
equals negative 12 x squared, and then I just simplified that down to 3 and 4.
Okay.
And then I'll give you 2i plus or minus 3 squared.
I had that anywhere else. I actually born.
Good. So that's what you should have got for number 10. That's what you got?
Yes, that's what I got. And
Good.
I did it all on my own. I didn't need Michael.
Good. Michael, did you get that on number 10?
I'm 35.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so we done now? I checked that answer with Katie, so I know they're helping her out. Are we done with today?
No.
We're on